name is Kelly Flagg, and on behalf of the Foundation for the Hazlet Public Schools, I would like to welcome you to meet the candidates for the Board of Education. Tonight we will be directing questions to 7 candidates and for three vacant positions on the school board. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order and divided into 2 categories. Those running to fill one opening for a 6-year term are over here on
Excuse me,
your
Kelly,
left.
there are 2 6-year terms.
Thank you, JC. We had that discussion today. It's 2 openings, which makes our job easier. And then those running for a 4-year term are sitting over here on your right. You each received a program when you came in, and within the program there is a introduction letter written by each of the candidates. The candidates running for a 4-year term on the board, and I'll start in the middle with Mr. Dan Kohler, Molly Polverento, Cammie Rapson, and Cammie Wheeler. Candidates for the 6-year terms are incumbent Christine Cody, Karen East, and Heather Meingast. The format for tonight is as follows. The candidates will each be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves. We will have 3 rounds of questioning, each person getting the opportunity to answer 1 question per round. The questions for the first and second rounds are randomly selected from a list in the back of your program. These were previously given to the candidates. Each member will be given approximately 1.5 minutes to answer their question. The third round of questions will be generated from you, the audience. You each received a 3x5 card at the door. Please let us know if you didn't and you would like one. And our other foundation members will get one to you. Between the first and the second round, we will be collecting your questions. They will be reviewed by the foundation members, Mr. J.C. Stalick and Evie Jackson. And then they will present them to me. We will allow 7 questions, 1 per candidate. In the event that we do not have questions from the audience, we will reshuffle the existing questions and ask a third one from the deck. Finally, each member will be giving 2 minutes for a closing statement. Assisting me tonight as timekeeper is another foundation member, Linda Headley. And she will be very mindful of watching the time, so we will give you a little heads up. Please hold all of your applause to the end. And if your cell phone is with you right now, please double check to make sure that it is in the off position. It's time for introductory remarks. And we will start with Ms. Christine Cody.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Thank you, Kelly, and the rest of the foundation members for putting on this event tonight. I think it's really important for our community to have a chance to meet all of us candidates. So as Kelly said, my name is Christine Cody, and I am the only incumbent running for re-election this year. I've had the privilege and honor of serving the board since 2005. That was the year in which I was first elected, and I was re-elected in 2009. I've decided to run again to help continue to keep Hazlet schools on this great path that we are on, of working hard together to ensure success for all of our students. I've been a parent leader in the district ever since my oldest started kindergarten about 17 years ago, and my husband and I carefully chose Hazlet as the place we wanted to raise our kids. In addition to my board experience, I bring a number of other strengths. I have a clear knowledge of the role of the school board and a working relationship with our staff and administration. I'm a consensus builder, a strategic thinker, and an effective communicator. And in addition, I have a strong understanding of the varied and complex issues that are affecting Hazlet and public education in general. I also know that board work is tough. Board work is hard. And every school board must be prepared to make difficult decisions. And I've been doing it for nearly 10 years. But in Hazlet, we have a track record of working together and ultimately coming together, being fiscally responsible, living within our means, and doing what's best for all of our kids. And I think you guys know the rest of the world is starting to pick up on this. Just last month, Hazlet High School was named the number 62 school in the whole country. Although the high school got that award, we know it wouldn't have come if they weren't getting a great education at all of our other buildings too. So let's work together and keep Hazlet on this path. The path of being an A+ school district and a great place to live and learn. And I hope you'll vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
And Karen East.
My name is Karen East, and thank you all for being here tonight and watching at home. Many people in the district know me as Peter, Joseph, and Mitchell's mom. I'm married to Jim Eklund, and our sons are Peter, Joseph, and Mitchell. Peter is the class of 2016, and Joseph and Mitchell are my identical twin sons, who will be the class of 2020. I recently retired from my position with the Legislative Service Bureau, where I was there for nearly 28 years, working in a nonpartisan agency that works with the largest legislative body in the state, the Michigan Legislature. I was a policy analyst, and then I was promoted to the Director of Research Services, where my entire professional life was focused on the analysis and delivery of nonpartisan, objective, detailed information on any issue that we were asked to address. I'm a scientist. I have a Master of Public Health in Toxicology and a Bachelor of Science in Cellular Biology from the University of Michigan. The school board is a nonpartisan legislative body, and through my work with the Legislative Service Bureau in a strictly nonpartisan, objective fashion, I deeply understand how laws governing education are drafted, enacted, implemented, and how they're going to impact our local schools here in Hazlet. As a scientist, I have a very deep appreciation for science, technology, engineering, and math education. And I know firsthand how to use it in very non-traditional ways on a daily basis. As a scientist, for my whole professional career, I've been involved in policy analysis for government entities. I've lived in Hazlet for 25 years now. Surprisingly, I never thought I would be in one place that long. But I've been here, and I chose to live in Hazlet because of the quality of the schools and the very supportive community that Hazlet is. It's a great place to raise a family. I'm a U of M grad and proud of it, and I love Ann Arbor, but I love raising my family here in Hazlet.
And Heather Meinges.
Good evening, Heather Meinges. I grew up nearby in Langsburg, Michigan, but I spent a lot of time in the Hazlet School District growing up in athletics or other activities here, and came to deeply appreciate the resources and the district in Hazlet, and decided then and there that I wanted to bring my kids up here. My husband, Klaus, works at Playmakers in Okemos, and we have 3 children. I have an 8th grader, a 5th grader, and a 1st grader, all in the Hazlet schools. I went to MSU, graduated with a degree in journalism, worked in state government for a couple years before I left to get my law degree at the MSU College of Law. After that, I worked for the state courts. I've been in private practice, and for the last 10 years, I've served as an assistant attorney general for the state of Michigan, a job that I truly enjoy. My role at the office right now is to chair a board of attorneys who are responsible for drafting opinions for the attorney general on complex questions of law, including school law and local district issues. I chose to run for school board. I'm running for school board not because I think there's something broken that needs to be fixed in the district. I think Hazlet is providing a solid education in doing so in a fiscally responsible manner. But there's always room for improvement. The decisions that the board makes with respect to the financial and administrative moves of our district really are fundamental to ensuring the improvement and success of our schools. And continued good decision making is going to be critical in the years ahead. I believe that I have the experience and the ability to make sound and well-reasoned decisions. My work as an attorney for the state has taught me to think critically. I am capable of making sound decisions based on all the facts in front of me. My job leading a board of attorneys has taught me to value different views and perspectives, and I think I can bring that all to bear as a board member.
Thank you. Dan Kohler.
Hi, my name is Dan Kohler. I graduated from Michigan State University in 1987, so I guess that puts the date out there for how old I am right away. with a major in biology and a minor in physical science. And then I got my teaching certification and started teaching at White Pigeon High School in 1987. And then in 1990, I decided I wanted to get some additional education in science, so I took a year leave of absence and did a degree in chemistry with a minor in mathematics. And then in 1991, I applied for and was given a position as a science instructor here in Hazlet. I've been here ever since. And in 2009, I managed to get through the National Board Certification process, and I was the only chemistry teacher at that time in the state of Michigan to do so. I don't know if anyone's ever done that since then, and one of only 17 science teachers. And that taught me a lot about education and also connected me into the education network quite a bit. I retired from public education in 2013, and I currently work part-time at Lansing Catholic High School. I still live in the community. My wife is here, and my son is a 6th grader at middle school. I'm finding that very interesting transition, and so is he. The reason I'm running for the school board is I really don't have any individual agendas or gripes or anything like that. It's just I care about kids, and I'm still embedded in this community. I'm not able to teach in public education and put in quite those kind of hours anymore. But I think my experiences and the things I'm networked into allow me to add quite a bit to the discussion based on things that I know work and don't work. You have to be very careful. Sometimes things that are presented as fact are actually kind of politicized. And so I know the right people to contact to find out where that data came from. Is it good data? And is it actually working?
Time.
And so I appreciate your vote if you'd like me on the board.
Molly Pulverento.
Good evening, my name is Molly Pulverento, and again, thank you for the foundation for putting this together and for all of you being here tonight. I have lived in Hazlet for 9.5 years and been in Michigan for 15. I'm originally from Decatur, Illinois, which is right in the middle of the state, and moved up here for a job after finishing my master's degree from Illinois State University in higher education administration. My husband and I decided to move out to Hazlet because of all the great things we heard from friends and colleagues about Hazlet as a community and the schools, and really wanted to find a good place where we could raise our kids. We have 3 children, a 2nd grader at Ralia, a kindergartner at Wilkshire, and then a 7-month-old. So part of the reason I'm running for school board is I'm in this for the long haul. I want this school district to be at least as successful, if not more so, in 18 years when my daughter graduates, as it is right now and for our class of 2015. I currently work at Michigan State University in our Department of Family Medicine, where I develop educational and research projects involving public health and primary care providers. We're trying to figure out how to kind of cross-train them so they both understand each other's disciplines. Before coming to Michigan State, I worked in policy and program development in public health and also have experience in program evaluation. In addition to my work experience, I currently serve as the chair of the Ingham County Board of Health, and I'm the past president for the Michigan Public Health Association, and have served on other committees at the state and at the county level. So I believe all that experience, working with others, trying to reach consensus around different policies, means that on day one, I'm ready to contribute to the board and can bring that knowledge and expertise. So I thank you for the time tonight and hope to convince you that I'd be a good member on the board.
Cami Rapson, also member of the foundation.
Hi, thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate that. I'm originally from Grand Blanc. I attended LCC in the paramedic program and got my degree in emergency medicine. I was a paramedic out in the field for 3 years, a CPR instructor, a reserve police officer. Then I went to work in Sparrow's emergency room as a paramedic. I was also a pharmaceutical rep for Bayer and owned my own successful business. After that, I was blessed to be able to stay home with my 4 kids, Zach, Emily, Michael, and Megan. We moved to Hazlet. All my kids have attended Wilkshire, Murphy, Hazlet Middle School, and Hazlet High School. I now have 2 children attending the Hazlet High School. My son is in his 3rd year at Western, and unfortunately, Emily isn't with us anymore. During my 20 years in Hazlet, my involvement with Hazlet school system began when my first child started kindergarten. Since then, I've been a teacher helper, PTO president at Murphy, yearbook at Murphy, volunteer coordinator, Pride program organizer at the middle school, representative on the Hazlet Coordinating Council for the middle school, and a member of the Foundation for Hazlet Public Schools. All these positions have taught me the importance of really listening to what people have to say and how they feel about an issue. With my background of running my own business, I feel I can share my financial and organizational skills with the board. I also bring knowledge of safety and medical issues. The reasons I'm seeking a board member position is multifaceted. First, I find Hazlet Schools a very supportive place, and my family has benefited from that support. So now I would like to give back to the community running for the school board. Teachers, I believe, could benefit from more support from everyone. I believe that they are the most important part of the educational process. Classroom sizes are a big concern of mine.
Time.
I hope you vote for me November 4th. Thank you.
And Kenny Wheeler.
Hello, thank you for being here tonight. I'm Cammie Wheeler, and I have lived in the school district since 1990, and I have a degree in special education from Michigan State University. I graduated in 1995. I got my first teaching job after I did my post-BA program. I actually got a degree in audiology and speech in 1995. In 1998, I completed a post-BA program in special education. I went on to do my internship, and I taught for 2 years at Jackson Public Schools and 3 years at East Lansing Public Schools, while working toward my master's at Grand Valley State University in special education. I am currently a stay-at-home parent, and my husband and I have 3 kids. Our daughter Annie is in high school, 9th grade, just started. Jack is just started middle school, he's in 6th grade, and Lucy is in 1st grade at Wilkshire. I have a long history with Hazlet Public Schools. When I moved here in 1990, I had already graduated high school in Davison, and grew up with an administrator and parents who have always had a high regard for public education. But what brought me here in 1990 was my plan to get my start at community college, and my dad, Bob Regan, took the superintendency in July of that year. I became acquainted with the community at a unique level. I was a young adult, and some of my first friends were board members, administrators, teachers of the district. And what I realized at that time of my life was what a supportive community it was, and how highly everybody regarded a strong administration, well-qualified teachers, and a community of support for one another and what's best for kids. So when my husband and I got married and started a family, it was no question the kind of community we wanted to raise our children in. So gratefully, we ended up at Hazlet, and thank you for your time.
All right. I have the questions here, and I will be shuffling them. We will randomly select the questions, and again, starting in alphabetical order, because that's the easiest. So, Chris, you're going to go first. Are you ready?
All right. I hope you asked me a good one.
They're all good.
Of course, they're all good. They're all good. They're all
And you
good.
did get the questions early,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that does help.
Yes.
Well, this one's really fitting for you, Chris. In
Okay.
your role as a board member, what do you sense will be your biggest challenge? Or what has been your biggest challenge?
Well, I think I'd like to talk about what will be my biggest challenge. And I think it'll be a little bit of a unique challenge for me, and that's going to be a transition to a new board. The fact that we've got 4 seats up for election this year, and by definition, there will be at least 3 new members of a school board starting in January in the middle of the school year, is going to mean a challenge for all of this. And I know everyone at this table is up for that challenge. We've got a great administrative staff, great current board members that will work hard to help them get up to speed, but it's going to take a while, and it will be a challenge. It's both will be a challenge to help make sure that they get any kind of resources and information and material they need to start making those decisions they're going to be asked to do right away. But the other piece of it, and it's a little bit more mushy, but it's very, very important to our board, is our job to help the new members transition to this great culture that we've had, that we've actually heard referenced in virtually everybody's opening remarks. because it's that culture of doing what's best for kids always, before everything and anything else, that's made this district great. And I'm looking forward to the challenge of working with new members to do that.
Thank you. Karen, what role should technology play in the educational experience of Hazlitt students?
That's a really terrific question. And technology is always a buzzword. And technology has its role. Technology, in my view, needs to be an adjunct. It's a tool. It's a way for students to access knowledge. It's a way for students to access resources. And we need to provide for that. But technology does not replace the inspiration and the motivation and the dynamic education you get when you communicate with a teacher, when you're working with a teacher who can inspire you. So I think we need to pay attention. We need to provide the best technology that we can. But we have to be cautious and we have to be prudent. Technology changes so quickly that as soon as you plan some major technology rollout, it's out of date before you've even managed to install it. I think the plan that we have in place this year, which is allowing students to bring their technology in, is an interesting approach. It has its gaps because not everybody has access and can bring in their own technology. But I think our society is moving more and more towards mobile devices that are light, less costly, easier to adapt. Wi-Fi's everywhere. So we have to look for all of those opportunities, but I'm cautious about its use. It has its role, but students have to learn how to use it properly. They have to be able to adapt. At the beginning of my career, there were no computers in my office. By the end of my career, I did nothing without my computer. I composed freely on my computer. Critical thinking, well-taught students can adapt when the technology is available. Thank you.
Heather. As a board member, how do you go about building consensus around an issue where board members have significantly different opinions?
Well, and maybe it's the lawyer in me, but I really enjoy a vigorous debate. And in my board of attorneys, and when we all sit down, it's very unusual that we would all be on the same page. And, and there are debates that are worth having, and there are debates that are not worth having. And looking at it from the school board perspective, there are times when the board doesn't have a lot of discretion in what we need to do. For instance, if the legislature has passed a law and it's simply a matter of us having to implement that law, that's a time when we really need to just do our job and there's not a lot of discretion. But it's something where we have discretion and there are options, that's the time for a robust debate and discussion, and that's healthy for any board. As far as, how do you build consensus? Well, you have to, start, I suppose, either at the widest or the narrowest place where you can find the most amount of agreement among the board. And then after that, you have to simply refine and build upon those agreements point by point through negotiation, discussion, and compromise. And, the most important thing to remember in having those debates is that we need to, for them to be effective, we must be respectful and professional while we do that.
Okay, Dan. How will you represent members of the community in your role as a board member?
Well, I think the biggest thing in order to be able to represent the community is make sure you listen to the community. So, trying to make sure you ask people how they feel about things and listen, so that you're not just putting your own viewpoint forward all the time. So the idea is I represent the community, I'm not the community. And make sure I surround myself with people as much as possible that aren't necessarily of the same opinion as me. So I can't represent the community if I don't know what the different opinions are in the community. So I think that's the best place to start with that. And then at some point, you have to vote your conscience. So there's tough decisions that have to be made. Being a school board member, I don't have any illusions. It's not become an easy job. Funding's a real problem, and you just have to try to find out what people feel are the most important things for kids, and then you've got to just vote accordingly.
Molly. What is one unique qualification you possess that would persuade a Hazlet resident to vote for you?
Sitting here with this group, I think we all bring some incredible range of skills potentially to the board. One thing that I've done most in my professional life is working with evaluation and how do we really critically examine those initiatives that we put into place. And it's often, when you put something in and you care about it, you want to see the best part of it. And so I've developed the skills to be able to kind of take a step back. How do we look critically? And then how do we take the information we have and improve things? I used to teach community agencies how to do program evaluation, and they were always scared of it because they were afraid it was going to show that they had failed somehow. And what I always told them is, it didn't show that you failed, it just shows that there might be ways to improve it and to do better next year. And so I think bringing that background in data and how we evaluate it and how we can work with our schools and our teachers and our families to evaluate those services that we're providing for all of our kids can provide us with some really great information as we move forward.
All right, Cammie. Cammie R. If a district employee were to call you with a problem or a concern, as a board member, how would you respond?
Well, first I would give them the time and listen to what Mr. Kohler even had to say, as listening is a big part of it. I would listen to them. We need to listen to our employees because they're our greatest assets. People deserve to be heard. I would definitely recommend them to take it then to Mr. Duda. He's the one on top, and I think he would handle the day-to-day operations. I feel the board shouldn't be micromanaging. I feel that Mike Duda would be the best person to go to take a problem, and I've actually already had that, so I was able to do that, and it really worked.
All right, Cammie W. What should the relationship be between the Board of Education and the superintendent? You saw me shuffle them, really.
That's a great question. I feel very confident in our administrators here in Hazlet. We have such a great continuity with administrators who have put their time in for a long time and stuck with the district, and I appreciate the community and I appreciate the administrators and the teachers. Just as I would say a board member should have relationships with other administrators in the district, with the superintendent specifically, it should be a supportive one and a trusting relationship, trusting that the superintendent is capable and allowing the superintendent to do his job.
All right, that concludes the first round. And as I said before, if you did have a question that you wanted to ask the candidates, please pass them to the end of the row and our board members will pick them up.
Yeah, I know. It was a good one for me too. It's like, yeah. I know. But I'm not shuffling. She just was going from the ones to the left, or she's starting shuffling again. I think she's just going from the ones.
Thank you. And now we will start round two. Again, are you ready, Chris?
As long as it's a good one.
Okay.
Can we decline and wait for the next one?
No, and yeah.
All right. Okay, Chris, what do you see as the important issues facing Hazlet Public Schools in the next few years?
Well, there are quite a lot of important issues that not only are facing them in the next few years, but we'll be facing forever and ever, no matter what we do. And I'd say the most important issue is how are we going to ensure that every single one of our students is successful? It's something that we've had success doing in a lot of ways, but it's something that will never go away. Every day we've got to find our ways to work together to do it. And that means we continue things like having interventions that help. We offer opportunities to our most high-achieving students and absolutely everything in between. And then on top of that, we better do a good job of providing support and professional development for our teachers if we expect them to be able to keep doing that. So I think that's probably the most important thing. We had heard Karen talk about technology. I do think how a district handles technology is going to be a big issue. We actually have a goal this year regarding technology, and it says that we will enhance the A+ learning experience with efficient and effective use of technology. So that means we're going to only use it when it enhances the learning experience and in a cost-effective, responsible way. But again, as I mentioned with the achievement, the other really, really important thing with and challenge with technology is appropriate support and professional development and training for our teachers. We've got a great network of technology coaches at our building that help do this. And then thirdly, this last thing, this is the foundation on which every single solitary good school district is built, and that's being fiscally responsible. And getting there and doing that every year requires a whole different bag of tricks. You never know what you're going to have to do it. But there is one thing that never changes, and that is that we are committed to that, to being fiscally responsible. And when we make those tough decisions, we do it through the lens of doing what is best for kids.
Thank you, Chris. All right, Karen. What is the role of the school board as a group, and what is the role as an individual member?
Well, the school board is the nonpartisan legislative body for the district. So the school board is tasked with setting policies for the district that keep the district moving forward, that keep us providing the best education possible, to provide flexibility for our students and the teachers to deliver on the mission of the schools, which is an A+ education for everyone. And the school board needs to work together to develop policies that will do that. And that's going to include examining policies that exist that are out of date, that need to be taken off the books, that need to be revised because they don't meet today's demands. Every board member needs to be a part of that process, needs to be a part of that consensus building process so that Hazlet schools can work, so that the teachers and the administrators can get their jobs done easily and efficiently without a lot of bureaucratic roadblocks in the way. Now, an individual member can help that process. They can look for opportunities. They can be supportive. They can have vigorous debate. But in the end, the board should reach a consensus. That's always been possible in Hazlet. And consensus has been really important because that means everybody's pulling in the same direction. Everybody's helping us move forward. And we're helping to set the tone for the district that consensus is important, collaboration, and in the end, support of the decision. Thank you.
All right, Heather. If you had a friend with a school-age children who is considering buying a house in Hazlet School District and asked you about Hazlet schools, what would you tell them?
Well, I've actually had this conversation very recently
you got lucky.
With a girlfriend. And you know what I told her is that her child is going to receive a high-quality education in a district that is, financially and administratively stable. It's going to be in buildings that are safe, that are well cared for and maintained, that can provide adequate access to resources, whether it's supplies, books, technology, assistance. And that overall, we have teachers and administrators who are responsive and listening to the concerns and the needs of parents. And, to top it off, it's in Hazlet, which, I found to me is a friendly, welcoming community. We have terrific parental support in the community, and also support from citizens without children in the schools. And, you know, when I look at Hazlet, I think the education that we provide here, the opportunities, whether it's band or choir or theater or sports, the quality that we provide is equal to what you might find in a larger, wealthier district, but we can provide it in a smaller, close-knit community that really cares, you know, that amplifies the Hazlet way, and that's what I told her.
Thank you. All right, Dan? What do you believe are the most important characteristics of a Hazlet board member?
Well, I think it's an obvious thing to make sure that kids are what you care about. You know, so if the kids aren't the thing which is your only agenda item, then nothing else really matters. So, you know, you're gonna have to make tough decisions. Not everything's gonna be a pleasant decision. You know, education has been kind of, I don't know, I feel like fodder for political rhetoric a lot. And you gotta boil it back down to what's best for the children, what's best for our children. So all of us are obviously very invested in that because we have kids and we're very embedded in this community. I also think it's really important, as other people have said, to not micromanage the district. That's not our job. Right? Our job is to try to make sure that we're approving those policies that help kids and help them move forward and do what's best for them.
Molly? This is the long one. In recent years, the Michigan State Legislature has mandated accountability initiatives such as annual administrator and teacher evaluations and district and building school improvement. Do you believe these initiatives have impacted Hazlet schools in a positive way or a negative way, and why?
So as a new parent to the district, I'm still figuring some of that out with young kids. But what has been really nice is going to the PTO meetings and hearing from teachers and from the principals about kind of that constant quality improvement that they're engaged in, that they're talking as a group and they're looking at ways to improve the educational experience for our children. And so the evaluations that they're doing both individually, they're also looking at it as a group. And how can they strengthen each other and strengthen the experience as a whole? Which for me as a parent, I think is a positive, because what has been really great to see going into these schools is how our teachers and our principals and going on up to the administrators work as a team and really see that they can play off of their strengths and work together to make it the best possible experience.
Okay, Cami R. If there were one thing that you could do to substantially improve the Hazlet schools, what would it be?
I knew I'd get that question. Well, you know, being in the school district for so long, this is just kind of, this is just the question I knew I'd get. But I really think Hazlet's doing a great job. I love it. I tell everybody to come here. But since I have to answer this, to approve Hazlet schools, if you ask any parent, I think it would be safety of our students and our staff. With all that's going on in the world, we need to keep one step ahead by implementing safety measures constantly. So I feel the best thing to improve Hazlet schools would be to constantly watch our students, our kids, and our employees for safety. Thank you.
And Cami W. Last question for this round. What could the Board of Education as a group or you as an individual member do to address school funding and other educational issues that are legislated at the state level that have a negative impact on Hazlet schools?
You know, communication is a big asset, and making sure that we are communicating with the legislators. And, you know, I feel like there is a history of an open communication with our School Board of Education and legislation. And again, a trusting and supporting relationship that we know that the legislators have education in their best interest as well and what's best for kids. So, you know, I feel that the best way to promote those issues is to stay open and communicated and flexible about changes and what's being brought down from the state.
Thank you. All right, and now we're going to move into round 3 with questions from the audience. We had 6. We will pull one more randomly from our pile. And then we'll hope that that same person didn't get that. So we'll go back to the pile. Okay. Question 1. Now, I haven't even read these, so we'll see how this goes. How would you improve the school system to get the students college ready like the Bloomfield Hills and Ann Arbor schools have done? To top 2 in the state.
Well, considering we were just named number 62 in the country, one of only 5 schools in Michigan that found themselves on that list, I think we're doing a pretty good job at that. But, you know, I think about and I talk a lot about and we hear a lot about our successes, which don't happen by accident. They happen because you've got everyone from your Board of Education down to every administrator, every teacher, every staff member working towards that. But kind of as I said in my other answer, we're never going to fully achieve it. Every day we have to keep finding new ways. Every day we have to find ways to improve. And it's the world that our students are entering as high school graduates is changing. It's changing as we're sitting here in this building. And it is incumbent upon us to always be looking to what else we can do to support a student, regardless of where they're gonna end up after they graduate from Hazlitt, be it a technical training, a 2-year college, a 4-year college, or whatever. I know one thing that we've been working hard at our high school specifically on is we use data very effectively in this district, and we were looking at our students and how they've been working on ACT practice over the course of their school career and giving them specific help to bring up the areas where their scores are lower. Because before you get that official ACT college readiness approval, you actually have to score pretty highly in all areas. So if you have a student that's scored high in 3 and needs a little more help in the 4, we're working on ways to try to bring up that 4, which will again show up in numbers. So it's going to be something, again, we'll be constantly working on.
Thank you. Okay, Karen. Have you reviewed the budget, past or present, for the Hazlitt School District? And if so, what change or questions or areas would you focus on? So that's actually 2 questions.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. Just saying.
I have not done the kind of detailed review of the budget that you would do as a board member. I have followed it generically over the last couple of years, in part because of my role in the legislature. I would sometimes be there late at night while they were in session, and I'd be looking at what they were doing on education on any given bill. So I would begin to pay more attention to that. One of the areas that I think we have to pay a lot of attention to is the fact that while Hazlitt was once upon a time spent at a higher level than just the floor, the state's done a lot to raise the floor so that Hazlitt's now the new floor. There are many districts in the area that are spending quite a bit more than we are able to spend on education. And so we have to spend some time analyzing that issue and being vocal about that with our elected representatives and with the other districts in the state who are in the same boat. Because unfortunately, many of our neighbors are not in our boat. And that will cause a problem for us as we try to advocate for ourselves. But I think we need to pay special attention to the amount of money that we are definitely targeting into the classroom through technology, through special initiatives, through our staff. We have to look for ways to keep as much of our resource in the classroom benefiting our students. And as we can going forward.
Thank you. Okay, Heather. Teachers are concerned about the issue of class size for our students. In the position of a board member, how do you see yourself with the ability to affect that?
That's a good question, and it's something that I've discussed with, I've met with all the building principals to talk about our schools, and class size is certainly that we've talked about. I think class size is something that we should be evaluating and thinking about, especially at the elementary and the lower levels. The problem with class size is that to have smaller class size, we have to hire typically additional staff. And, the problem that the district faces and that the board faces is that when you hire staff, you have the legacy type costs and the costs down the line. So, right now we've already talked about how how funding is static. So whether or not we'll be able to affect class sizes in the future, remains to be seen. I think it's something we should continue to evaluate and to hear from our building administrators on. And I would certainly be open to having that discussion, particularly at the lower levels, at our elementary and Wilkshire levels, if we could manage that.
All right. Dan, what do you see as the biggest concern facing education or education policy today?
Well, I'd say the biggest issue facing education is probably funding. And I know it's a little cliche to say, but, it really is the truth. So, how can we have these incredibly high expectations for our students and for our teachers and everybody if we don't have enough funds to deliver those things? So I think that's the biggest challenge that we have before us. And I think the board's done a pretty good job, seeing how we are at the floor, of being fiscally responsible, because I know a lot of people that are in districts that are in a lot of trouble. And it hasn't been easy decisions for anybody. It hasn't been easy on the staff. So, we've got to find ways to make sure that we have enough funding, and we're kind of limited in what we can do for that, to provide those programs we want. The days are over when you can add a program. Now it's just about how do you cut the thing that has the least impact. So, we've got to get real about that if we really want to change things. I don't know how much the board can do about that, though.
All right, thank you. Molly, another class size question.
Okay.
What is your opinion on the current class size in Hazlet Public Schools?
My mom was a special education teacher, K through 12, at different points in my life, and so I saw kind of firsthand going to visit her class and the kind of work she needed to do, where she was really focused on a few students, and then saw when they were trying to put students into larger and larger classrooms and the difficulties. And it's, especially with our younger grades, it's a real challenge and a concern. And how do you, as a teacher, manage all those children and develop activities that engage all those children, especially, I've got a 5-year-old, and trying to keep his attention for more than a few minutes is incredibly tough. And when you have a class of 24 of them, it's incredibly taxing on our teachers and on the principals and all the support staff that go along with it. The challenge is that not only is it a funding thing and a staff and how do we support that, but it's also a space thing. My second grader was the first class to be in full day kindergarten, and I remember the discussions and the concerns of where are we going to put all these kindergarten classes now that we have to do this, and how do we have the space. I think we have to look at innovative ways and really brainstorm with our teachers and our administrators and our families, and look at different ways to engage students when they're in a larger classroom, and then really try to embrace those opportunities when they come along to create some more classroom space and do what we can. The good thing is this district isn't shrinking as far as the number of people who are coming here and the number of kids that are coming into our district. It's a desirable place for your kids to go. So we just have to look at what those opportunities are going forward.
All right, Cammie R., what is one unique qualification you possess that would persuade a Hazlet resident to vote for you?
Well, I think my biggest qualification would be all the volunteer hours that I've spent in Hazlet. The last 20 years since my Zach is third year at Western, has started kindergarten. I've been a classroom helper, and I mentioned in my biography everything that I've done as far as volunteering for all the different schools. I've been in contact with all employees at all levels. I feel like I really know Hazlet and their educational process. And so I think as far as the biggest qualification I have is being hands-on in the schools. Thank you.
Last question of the evening. Cammie. Hazlet has much to celebrate, but we always strive to improve. Our science test scores lag behind language and social studies. Same great district, same intellect in our student population. What training, experience, and insight do you bring to the board to support our teachers, students, and K-12 science programs?
I'm sorry, teachers and students? Or did you say-
Teachers, students, and the K-12 science program.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So how do you feel about science? 'Cause this was in cursive and it was really hard to read.
Yes. Well, I was a teacher, and I have a great admiration and respect for teachers. Our teachers, regardless of what they teach, you know, they go above and beyond, considering the demands they are continually put under. I think as a community, first of all, I feel our teachers build strong alliances with families. And as a community, we really just need to keep supporting our teachers regardless of what they teach. I taught special education, upper elementary and middle school, and I want students to have a love for science, and I appreciate that. But I would definitely have to do my homework, as you know, if you want to ask me specifically about the science program and lesson planning and curriculum, but our teachers are phenomenal, and we appreciate them, and we need to keep supporting their efforts.
Thank you. And now we will have closing statements from the members. And in order to make this even, we started with Chris before. I was going to start again with Cammie. So Cammie, do you feel like you're ready to do a closing statement? All right.
Yes. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for their time. Thank you for being here for all of us. And I'm just very excited. I have had a lot of practice supporting this district on different levels. As a young adult with a administrator in the district, and now thankfully as a parent in the district. And I feel that I will be connected with the community at each level throughout my 4-year term if I am elected. And again, I appreciate the community and everybody for valuing well-qualified teachers, strong administration, and I'd like to take my support to the next level now. So thank you for your consideration and your time.
Cammie Albert. My family and I have been in Hazlet for over 20 years, benefiting from the fine education that Hazlet schools have provided. My background of 20 years given me insight into many aspects and hands-on learning for years, how the education in Hazlet works throughout all the schools. I love being part of the educational process. I like to be involved. Currently now, a member of the foundation and still a volunteer at the high school and a resident of Hazlet with children still in the schools, I would do my best to see that Hazlet continues to provide quality education, safety of our students, and to be a good listener to both the community and our teachers. Please vote for me November 4th. Thank you.
Okay, Molly.
Again, thank you for being here. You know, as I mentioned, I grew up the daughter of a teacher and saw firsthand both the positive and the negative of what can happen when you don't have a school board that's dedicated to our kids and to the community. And so I've always said that if I was ever going to run for an office, it would be for school board, because I think it's just the most important service that you can provide to your community. You know, I have a 7-month-old, and I want her to love these schools as much as my 7 and my 5-year-old have loved them, and I want them to be as excited when they graduate as some of our friends whose daughters have graduated in these recent years. So I can promise you that I will give it all that I can and do the best job that I can to be a productive and helpful board member starting day one.
Okay, well, one of the things I just wanted to mention, I feel really fortunate is I'm getting to know the people up here, and some I already know. I don't think we can lose. Because I feel like the people have the right priority. You've got to care about the kids. I'm not doing this because I have any kind of personal agenda for anything, other than, you know, I care about this community, I care about the kids, and I want to see them do well. I've seen school boards where people come in that have some kind of closet agenda to get even with somebody, or they're going to fix something. And I don't think we have a lot that needs to be fixed. We just have to continue to cooperate. I think I have a wealth of experience in education. I'm still very current on all the things that are coming down the pike, Common Core curriculum. I actually worked on model instructional units for the state of Michigan, and they actually paid me for it. You know, so probably I did something okay there. And I promise to stay intact with all those resources that I have. So the only reason I'm running is if people think I have something to add. And so if you think I have something I could add to that discussion that would be positive, then vote for me. If you don't, I'll move on. So that's all I'd like to say, and thank you so much for being here and putting this on. It's a great experience.
Okay, Heather?
Well, I'm going to close with a little story. And, you know, I had an elementary school teacher in Langsford who I got along with very well, Mr. Walters. And, you know, that teacher turned into my coach and ultimately a mentor throughout my entire high school career. And behind my parents, he was probably the most significant person in my life, and at times the most significant person in my life, because, you know, what 16-year-old girl wants to listen to her parents? And, you know, this teacher was somebody who encouraged me from day one, treated me as an equal, listened to my ideas, challenged me, didn't let me slack, kept me on the straight and narrow, and, you know, is really responsible in some sense for the person and the successes that I've had today. And I think that story is an example of sort of the power and the possibilities that education and good educators can provide our students. You know, I'm not an educator right now. I don't have the ability to have that kind of relationship. But as a board member for Hazlet, I would do my best to make sure my children, your kids, and everybody else have those types of opportunities here in our district. So, you know, I want to thank the foundation for this event. Although terrifying, it's been great. I appreciate it. I hope that the audience out there will consider voting for me. And if you have questions, I have a Facebook page. It's heatherforhazlet@facebook.com. I really would welcome contact from the community, and I'd be happy to answer questions that way. Thank you.
Karen?
It gets hard when you're on nearly the last one. I don't know what Chris is going to do. You know, I can echo much of what people have said. I'm very honored to be with this group of people. There's been some brilliant answers to questions, and I think we all are coming from the same place. It is all about our kids, and you know, Hazlet is a great community for your kids, and the schools are great, and we're all here to work on keeping it that way. You know, I have great passion for education and lifelong learning. It's one of the reasons I excelled in my work. I learned every day, and I love to learn. My father was an educator, and my passion for this is really a gift from him. He was an exceptional professional who loved his students and his work. And I can feel that here in Hazlet. I feel that now that I have my 3 sons. And everywhere I go in Hazlet and in the buildings, you see the same passion for education and you see it in doing the best you can for your students to succeed. And what I bring to this, particular equation is I really have a very keen mind for looking at everything objectively, seeing where there are possibilities, and presenting those in a way that they can be evaluated. Some will work, some won't. Some have greater risks than others. And you can begin to see where you might want to make a change, where you can move forward, maybe where you can fix something that you haven't been able to in the past. And now that I'm retired, prior, I could not have run for this position. As a nonpartisan staff person, I was prohibited from running for an elective office. So I freed myself up this summer, and I hope that I can serve on the Hazlet board come January. Thank you.
Well, I think if I weren't an incumbent, Karen, you'd be right. I'd have a lot of harder time talking at this point, but I can give you guys a different take on this completely. Although, again, I think we've heard great answers in a lot of ways tonight. But our board's on the cusp of a really huge change. A huge change that I don't think, Dave Hamilton was telling me today, in his 20-whatever years in here, I don't think we've ever had this many, we wouldn't have had this many board members change over. And during my tenure on the board, I've seen our staff and our administrators and even our students adapt to all kinds of changes that look far greater than the fact we're going to get some new board members. So I know as a board, we're going to learn from that, and it's our turn to welcome in some new board members. In fact, I think part of the reason that some of my colleagues decided not to run was because they wanted to make way for new parent leaders in the district to be grown. And we're looking forward to that perspective of parents with younger children. But everyone here is talking about staying on the same path, and we all know that where we are today didn't happen by accident. It's not the board that does it all, but the makeup of the board is important. We've got great teachers, great staff, great administrators, and a lot of things going for us, but we need to make sure that the board learns how to continue to be supportive of that. I have a school board friend who says that being on the school board is the toughest job that you'll ever love. And I'll tell you, I love this, and I've been honored and privileged to serve our community. And I'm looking forward to the possibility to do it again for 6 more years, but most of all, what I want to serve my 2,700 children. Because for 10 years, I haven't had just 2. I've had 2,700. And I'm looking forward to more, and 6 more years of that. Please vote for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Well, that concludes the hard part of the evening. And thank you very much, board candidates, for your support and care for Hazlet Schools. How fortunate are we to have to be able to select from you? Seriously, it's wonderful. Before closing this evening, though, I would like to introduce the members of the foundation for the Hazlet Schools, because we do a pretty good job ourselves, if I must say.
Yes, you do.
If you would stand when I call your name, that will help the other members know who we are. Evie Jackson, J.C. Stalick, and Julie Stevenson. Was she able to come in? She didn't. All right. And then myself, we were on the committee to put on this event for you this evening. And then other members, we certainly had Linda Headley, our timekeeper, and Gary Barucki, Catherine Houghton, Steve Houghton, Cammie Rapson, and Sandra Riley are all members of the foundation. I'd like to acknowledge the superintendent, Mike Duda, and Assistant Superintendent Sharon Jones. They meet with the foundation board monthly and offer valuable insight. I'd also like to thank the foundation secretary, who's not here, but who did go to great lengths to make your programs and to organize all of this for us, and that's Michelle Gustafson. And she's not here, but we thank her and wanted to acknowledge that. I'd like to thank the members of the audience for coming and participating in this evening. This program will be recorded and rebroadcast several times between now and the election on Channel 22 and on Home TV. The dates and times will be posted on the Hazlet website, so be sure and check it out if you'd like to just have a little rerun. And last but not least, I'd like to encourage all of you to vote on Tuesday, November 4th for our members. How lucky that we'll have that opportunity. Thank you and good night.